Today I want to talk about sharing your classroom calendar on your Google site. Your classroom, your Google Classroom is usually private to your students. Now, if your students are very, very young, kindergarten and first grade, there's a chance they're not doing Google Classroom on their own. But at some point they become independent and what's going on in the classroom is a little bit private and not necessarily open to all the parents to see what's happening. So there is a way to share your calendar so parents can see what's going on. So if we start in your Google Classroom and opening up one of my Google classes, and I worked on, I think kindergarten was the one I was going to post. And if I click on classwork, I can see that this class has a Google Calendar, something you can see, the kids can see, could be shared with the parents. And I can get to this Google Calendar by going, I can come up here and type calendar.google.com, or I can click right here in Google Classroom and open up my calendar. Now, this is not a true class, so I went in and assigned this item called fractions, but I think it's the only thing I have assigned. So we won't see a lot on my calendar, but you should see this one because I've got it due on Friday. I'm going to click on the link to take me to Google Calendar, and it's going to open up all my calendars. So as it loads, on the left, you can see all the calendars, my personal Google Calendar that's associated with my Fayette County account, and a lot of other, there's birthdays, I don't know that I made that one, and a lot of other Google Classrooms that I've got, and some other ones listed at the bottom. And this one is turned on, so I can see if I can turn off some of the other Google Calendars. If there's anything scheduled on them, it's turned off. And you can see this assignment. It says fractions. If you click on it, it even brings up a link to that assignment. I named my school Elm Tree Elementary, who it was created by. If you have a middle or high school kid and they open up all these, they could see all their assignments on them if they have quite a few assignments. The assignment's only going to work with your calendar, though, if you've given it a due date, if the assignment has a due date. So before we head over to Google Sites to post this, I'm going to come over to the left where it says Kindergarten Gaskin. That's the name of the classroom. There's 3 dots. I'm going to click on the dots, and I'm going to go into Settings and Sharing. And I'm going to scroll down just a little bit to where it says Access Permissions. And I'm going to make this calendar available to the public. Okay. And they can see all event details. So I think they could see what we just clicked on, because you don't want them just to see you're busy. You want them to see that there really is an assignment on there. That's all I have to do in calendar. So moving along, I'm in my Google Drive now, and before I would create a site, I would usually click New and click Folder and create a folder for things to live in there for my Google site. If I click Folder, I would title it, click Create, and then I would open up the folder, and I've created a folder called Class Calendar Sites 2020 for this one. And once I create my site inside this calendar, or inside this folder, it will live in that folder, so I don't have to go back later and organize by dragging the site into the folder. I'm in my Google Drive. I've gone to New. I've come down to More, and I've come over and I've clicked Google Sites, and it's opened up a Google site for me. And it's sitting right here. When I open it, I named it the file name. And if you do this, this is kind of on each page, and it's for my kindergarten classroom. If I'm elementary and I only have one Google Classroom, then I probably only need one page for my classroom. If I am middle or high school, you might need a page for each class. If you teach Algebra 1, and you may have 3 sections of Algebra 1, but if each, I guess you'd need, you might need a page for each calendar for each classroom. You could create a page for each, probably click create a page for each class and put the calendar on their page, or you could say calendar and create some pages under here for each class, and it would have a drop down. I created my page over here on the right by clicking on pages. At the bottom there's a plus sign, and I clicked that I wanted a new page, and I named it and said done, and it put it up here at the top so I can get to it. So I'm going to go to my page where I'm going to put my calendar, come over to insert, scroll down, and I'm going to insert my, click that I want to insert my calendar. And it wants to know what calendar I want. So the one I want that I was made sure that I shared was called Kindergarten Gaskin Elm Tree Elementary. I've clicked on the bottom right, there's an insert button. It inserts the calendar, doesn't look the way I want it right now, and it's not placed where I want it. Depending on what else you have on the page, you may want it small. If I want it a little bit larger, I'm going to click and drag it over. See if I can't center it a little bit better. When I'm clicking, and I'm not sure if you can see this, you can only see when I'm moving, there's little lines behind the calendar, and it snaps to those grid lines. So it is limited as to kind of where it can go. Now I can click on it, sorry, I know I'm driving you crazy there, and grab one of the corners and drag it and make it a little bit bigger. And it's on agenda, week, month agenda. And if I leave it this way, it kind of shows a list, but it doesn't really look like a calendar. When the student gets it, when the parent looks at this, because the idea was to make it public so parents can see what the students have due, it doesn't really show them, I don't think it shows them if it's finished or not. It just kind of knows if they've got some upcoming work. Then when the student opened it up, they could choose to look at the week or the month. But I really want it to start out looking different. So at the top, there's a gear. So I have the calendar selected. You can see there's blue dots around it. I'm going to select on the gear, and I'm going to say, here it's down at the bottom, it says agenda, and I'm going to change it to a month. So the whole month calendar shows up, and click done. And that's what it's going to look like. Now, if I click on it right now, probably nothing works. At the top, the preview button is a little bit different if what you're used to in Google Forms is that little eyeball. They use this, it's a computer and somebody's cell phone. So I can click, and that becomes my preview button. And down here on the bottom right is my preview button a little bit, so I can see what it looks like on a big computer. If I change to the middle button, this is kind of what it's going to look like on somebody's tablet. And if I change to the phone, that's what it's going to look like on somebody's phone. So all it did was shrink and get smaller, but if you have multiple things on your page, it's kind of interesting to go see how it would look like depending on if the parent's going to open it up on their on a big computer or on a tablet like an iPad. I don't know which one the Chromebook would be. Of course, I would say it's probably big computer, but it'd still be a little bit smaller than this, so somewhere in between the computer and maybe the tablet. Okay, to get out of preview, I'm going to click on the X, and it takes me back. And before the parent could really see this, I would need to publish the site, and I would need to share it if it hasn't been shared already. So under sharing, this one says anyone with Fayette County can view it. So the parents are still not going to be able to view it. I'm going to need to change that and say anyone can find and view the published version. Now, until I publish, nobody can see it. But once I publish it, I want the parents to be able to see it also. And I'm going to click Save. And done. If someone else is helping me edit my site, I could add their names here and send them a message and invite them to help me edit my site. The top right is a publish button. So I'm going to click publish, and I have not published this one before, so it's wondering if I want to name it the same as my file name, which was Gaskin K, and that kind of looks like all my names. So I think, and it's already taken, and my guess is it's already taken by me and that I've used it before. How about K Gaskin? Okay, so it will take that one. I'll have to remember not to use that one again. Notice my website, what it's going to be is listed down here. The only part of my website I can change is at the end, and if it's already taken, then you can, if it's already taken by somebody, you're going to have to change it. It says who can view my site, and it says anyone can view it because we already changed that in the sharing settings. If not, I could click on manage and it would open up that sharing box again, and I could fix that. And request do not display my site. I don't think it's going to matter for your classroom site. I think you could leave that on. I don't think I want the one I'm doing right now that I'm using for training displayed because it's not a real class. And then I'm going to click publish. If this site had already been published and I was already using it and then I made these changes, Google automatically saves your changes so you can work on it a little bit one day, a little bit another until you get it ready. But then if you want parents to see it, you will need to publish again. So this is one thing that the parents cannot see your changes, or the public cannot see your changes until you've published. Now, this at the top is not your website. This is a Google code for opening up the page for when I'm going to edit. I can click on preview and I could probably get the site, or this little link says copy publish site link. So if I click that, this box opens and there you can see. Well, and right now I'm on the calendar page. So that's not the page I would give to the parents. Let me go back to the home page. Scroll up some, can't see it. There we go. I'm going to click on home. And now if I grab that link, there we go. Because if you're going to give them a link to your site, you're going to give them the home link site, not just the other one. I could click copy link, and then I could paste it in an email and send it to my web person for this school, and they could post it on the school website so that if parents are going there, they could get it. You could also email it out to your parents or put the link in one of your Infinite Campus emails that you're sending out to parents. You could post it on the Google Classroom if the kids are going to see it, or if they're going to share it with their parents. You could put it in the signature of your email and parents could see it. I'm finished. Does anybody have any questions? You can either unmute your mic or type in the chat box. If you add dates to your calendar, does it have to republish? No, which is kind of nice. So once it's on there, if I went back to my classroom, that's a good question. If I were to create another assignment and say, book report. Please tell me about a book you've read. You may use slides or create a doc. So then when the student gets this, I'm not going to add anything. When the student gets this, they could decide if they're going to give me a slideshow, a doc. I could open it up and let them do a video, however they want to tell me. So I've given them a choice in the type of assignment they're going to do. I don't know that working with little ones, I'd ever have anything worth 100 points. If it says no due date, it's not going to show up on my calendar. So I'm going to need to give it a due date. And this one's not due until next week, maybe I know a lot of people have been making everything kind of due on Friday, and some people have been doing one day at a time topic. So maybe it's part of week 3. I'm getting something ready for down there. If they want to work on it early, they can. And I'll click assign. So it's down here under book report. So now if I go back to my calendar, and I'm going to go to preview mode, back to my website, excuse me, back to my website, preview mode, click on the calendar page, and there it is. What if I go back out of preview and I click on give me the link, copy the link. I'm going to copy the link, and now I'm going to open up incognito. So now I'm not me, I'm more like the parent with no rights. And let's make sure what they see. I must have copied the calendar page. So here it is, the way the parent would see it. And then if I clicked on it, it still says more details. It still shows them what this is. I'm not sure. It shows them the link to Classroom. I've got to think it's going to block them at some point, yeah, because it's going to ask them to sign in. So it does give the parents enough to kind of know something's going on, and there is a due date coming up. So, you know, the student may say it's not due till Friday, and it's like, yeah, I know, but we have plans for tomorrow. Not sure what kind of plans anybody's got. And I'm just chatting. If y'all have really got another question, you could ask another question. Thank you all for coming in.